Before I get into the video, I just want to say that these are not full reviews of these games, and that I'll eventually make individual, dedicated reviews on each game. These mini reviews only reflect my opinion and should not be taken as fact, and by no means do I think any of these games are bad. Now, with that out of the way, you would assume that if I liked the series as a whole, that I would like all the games equally, but that's simply not the case. I mean, it's a fun game nonetheless, but it's not up to par with the rest of the games. The main problem I have is the challenge mode. I really struggle with these challenges, and yet, playing in single race is very enjoyable. Another problem I have is this game doesn't even reward you for getting all gold. Just getting bronze medals in the race, time trials, and weapons challenges will unlock Velocitar, Piranha, and Super Combo challenges. Getting all gold medals will only unlock a gold themed menu, which is not really worth it to me. This game, even though it was a separate entry in the series, contains no new content. There is only one new track, and all the others are reskinned versions of old levels that are cut down mirrored versions. Yes, Piranha can use weapons, and the teams have super weapons, but those facts don't make it better. For these reasons, this game is ranked at the bottom of the list. Yeah, this game is ranked higher than WipEout 64, but there are still some limiting factors that hold it back. The concepts introduced are very different. Instead of speed classes, you have to upgrade the ships, and to unlock tracks and ships, simply play through the AG leagues and pilot challenges to unlock more content and get credits to upgrade the ships. That sounds simple enough, but the problem is the handling model. The ships feel as if they are glued to the track, so when you race, it can be difficult to complete clean laps, especially with fully upgraded ships. And with the addition of a damage simulator, ships become harder to control the more damage they take on. Speaking of damage, there are a ton of weapons to use in this game. So many weapons that there are options to disable some of them in multiplayer mode. It also brought back super weapons, which were much better than the ones in WipEout 64. And to unlock them, you have to play through the super weapon license challenges for each team. Another new mode added is zone mode, where you complete as many laps as you can, while the ship gets faster with each zone. But, due to the handling model, this is the hardest version of this mode. This is still a fun game, but controlling the ships can be a real chore, so that's why it's close to the bottom of this list. WipEout 2097, or F.S.O.L if you live in the US, is an evolution of the first game. It introduced two new race classes, the very beginner and slowest Vector class, and the hardest and fastest Phantom class. Some more additions to the game include shield energy that can be drained by taking on damage, and pit lanes to build that energy back up. Also, during sessions, you have to make it to each checkpoint before the timer runs out, or your ship will be destroyed and you'll lose the race. This can be problematic in the faster race classes because if you're not familiar with the tracks, slamming into walls can slow you down and cause you to miss the checkpoints altogether. The approach to championship mode was altered in the form of two challenges. The Phantom Challenge is a tournament with the first 6 tracks at rapier speeds, and the Piranha Challenge is a tournament with all 8 tracks at phantom speeds. The unlockable Piranha craft is special as it doesn't have weapons in the game, but it does make up for it with its insane stats. But the 2 tracks that you also unlock are the absolute most difficult to master. Unlike WipEout 64, you have to get all gold in races and the tournaments to unlock everything, but it is much easier, especially with the smoother gameplay. I put this game above WipEout X.L because of the time I spent with it, and for the longest time, I thought it was the only game in the series. As it is the first game, it doesn't feature too many things that later games introduced. It's simple. You choose between race, championship, or time trial. Then you choose a ship and a race. But don't get me wrong, this is the hardest game in the series. Trying to fly in Venom class is hard to master with all ships, but doing it in Rapier is proven almost impossible. The slightest tap on a wall will bring your craft to a halt, but I eventually learned, even with Kyrex. Thankfully, to unlock everything, you just have to beat the championship in each class with the highest number of points, rather than having to get all gold medals. In addition, you don't have to worry about shield energy in this game. WipEout X.L is actually the better game, especially with the handling model, but nostalgia has blinded me with the placement on the list, and it's the right one for me. This game is really just the next one in line. It controls a little better than 2097, but retains most of the features from that game. What's changed is the modes and the way you unlock things in the game. Challenge mode was brought back from WipEout 64, and Eliminator mode makes its debut. Tournament mode also makes a return. However, the only thing you have to do is get all gold medals with each team on each track to unlock the extra tracks, teams, and speed classes. It's more tedious than it is hard because that's 256 gold medals. Also, Hyperthrust, which requires shield energy to use, replaced the turbo pickup, which I don't care for. This would be below the original WipEout, however, the developers released a special edition. It was a major update with added content. There were many minor bug fixes and unlock messages to name a few changes. Then, they added 8 retro tracks from the first 2 games and the 2 drag prototype tracks from the Japanese version. To me, that's what makes it worth putting at number 5. This game was the most anticipated game for me. This was at a time when the PlayStation Vita was announced and called the next generation portable. I could not wait for this game to come out, not just to play it, but to experience the Vita firsthand. But the big disappointment was the lack of a race box. And as of March 29th, 2018, the official online servers for both WipEout HD Fury and 2048 have been shut down due to the Omega Collection. so you can no longer host online HD Fury lobbies or play the online multiplayer mode in 2048. The game is visually beautiful, even though each level looks about the same. It's fun, and the stipulations put on campaign events are what make it fun. Although, I have to admit, the A+ challenges are ridiculously hard, but I managed to elite past them. There may be only 5 teams in this game, but each team has 4 different ship variations to choose from. As far as online goes, the online multiplayer for 2048 was a matchmaking system instead of a custom race box, so it was random races, and if you completed all the events, you got alternate skins for the ships. But again, because of the shutdown servers, that is no longer accessible. The DLC added the HD Fury campaigns as well as HD Fury crossplay. As far as any missing features, I really would have liked the developers to update and add a custom race box and the turbo pickup and time trial and speed lap modes, but the studio closed down after its release. This, unfortunately, was the final game for Studio Liverpool. This game was the best looking WipEout until the Omega Collection. The game is exactly what it says, WipEout HD. In the base game, there are no new tracks, no new teams, or ships for that matter, no new modes, and no new music, because they all come from WipEout P.E.T.R.O.L and Pulse. However, Fury added new ships for the team, 7 new songs, and 2 new modes, but that's about it. Detonator mode is a zone mode of sorts, but you complete laps to reach new zones while taking out mines and bombs to gain points. Zone battle is a race to reach the target zone, and to reach higher zones, you can fly over zone pads and build your zone boost gauge to boost your zone or recharge your shield energy. Eliminator mode has been altered in that you go for a set amount of points instead of kills. The zone and detonator modes are interesting in that the environment reacts to the music in-game, or your custom music on the PlayStation 3 itself, so I used to load older WipEout music and race to it. The visuals were amazing for its time, and everything you know about WipEout is represented here, such as the way the crab handle and the modes to choose from. But the Fury add-on is what really makes this one stand out. Simply put, this is WipEout 2048 and both its expansion packs remastered for PlayStation 4 and PS4 Pro. It does, however, combine the full features of HD Fury and 2048. Originally, I always wanted a 2048 DLC pack for WipEout HD, but it never happened. But Clever Beans and XDev remastered those titles, and they did an excellent job in doing so. But let's not forget, Omega is a remaster of a remaster of sorts. HD Fury was released on the PlayStation 3 and takes tracks and ships from P.E.T.R.O.L and Pulse. HD Fury was then ported to the Vita by means of DLC for 2048, and now it's on the PlayStation 4. The only new additions are 2 returning teams with overpowered ships, Tigran and Van Uber, the latter being DLC. But they didn't just stop there. The developers took the time to update this game to look like it was originally released for the PlayStation 4. The lighting is upgraded, the textures are upgraded, the audio has been upgraded, and it can run in native 4K if motion blur is disabled. One thing that does bug me a little with the new audio is the weapons voices. They mixed the pickups from 2048 with the warnings from HD Fury, and it's too much to deal with audibly, especially in Eliminator or Combat mode. But the game is still great nonetheless. With the release of PlayStation VR, you can play the entire game through the VR headset. This adds a whole new way to experience the world of WipEout, and there are various options to limit the VR effects for motion sickness. Another thing, zone modes no longer support non-in-game playlists. The graphic EQ effects only react to the in-game music, as opposed to HD Fury on PlayStation 3, where it would react to any song you played. But instead of having to upload your music to the PlayStation 4, you can just open Spotify in the background and choose whatever song you want as it mutes the in-game music. I would have preferred a new game for PS4, but I'm glad we got this remaster, especially with VR support. Okay, I did it. I put 2 games as my number 1. That's because, at least to me, these 2 games just look and feel so similar. The tracks are very well designed, the ships are consistent, and the DLC was a welcome addition. Starting with WipEout Pure, it introduced barrel rolls and side shifts, as well as an updated air brake model for a brand new experience. It also did away with the pit lanes, instead requiring you to absorb weapon pickups to restore shield energy lost to weapon impacts or barrel rolls. WipEout Pulse refined the handling model further for a slight improvement controlling the ships, but that's about it. Pure brought back the tournament mode for a more traditional way of unlocking content, and added free play, which was an early version of Speed Lap. However, introduced in Pulse was the grid-based campaign system. These were collections of events instead of just races. Unlocking more tracks requires you to complete each grid, and whatever team you use gains loyalty points. The more points you get, the more ship liveries you unlock. Zone mode even makes a return in these games with its own aesthetic. The tracks feel so consistent between games, as well as the ships, so much so that I believe all the tracks from these 2 games would have been good candidates for DLC remasters in HD Fury. I'm specifically talking about the tracks from Pure's Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and Delta leagues, as well as all the Pulse's tracks. To me, the overall aesthetic just blends well. Of course, the PS2 version of Pulse isn't as good because of input lag and graphical glitches, so I mainly play it on PSP. These are my overall favorite games in the series.